Thanksgiving hard apple cider on Smokin and Drinkin. Hey, welcome back to Smokin and Drinkin. I'm Mike, and today we're going to make hard apple cider. Hard apple cider. I've been told that Americans are the only ones that call it that. Pretty much the rest of the world calls it apple cider. I don't know why we do that, but it's the same stuff. Simple recipe. I'm going to use apple juice concentrate, water, and yeast. That's all there is to it. I was told by several viewers that if I used better quality apples, different varieties, I'd have a better apple cider. I don't really have access to an apple orchard or an apple press. I suppose I could buy one. I'm cutting out the middleman, and I'm using apple juice concentrate. And this is from Coloma Frozen. It's nature blessed apple juice concentrate, and it is imported. Maybe it'll be a little better. I've made apple cider before. I just used apple juice from the grocery store. Let's see if this turns out a little better. I don't know. We'll see. Let's get started. All right. I'm going to take our fermenter, which is basically a 1 gallon Carlo Rossi wine jug. And we have a funnel so we don't make a mess. And we have our apple juice. We're going to use, for our yeast, Safe Ale SO4, we're going to use about half a packet. I have plans for the other half. But today we're going to use half a packet to make our hard apple cider. Okay, I'm going to put this, it's not in front of me there. I already opened this so it doesn't have the hermetic seal on there. I couldn't wait. I wanted to smell it. Sorry. So normally it has a seal on there, so that's all sanitized. Everything else that I'm using has been sanitized in our sand tub using Star San, and so don't have to worry about infection in our brew. Enough jabbering, let's get started here. First we're going to add our apple juice. I've had good luck with this apple juice from Coloma Frozen. They're not a sponsor, but boy, I like their stuff. I get it shipped to me in 1 quart size, and then I just add 3 more quarts of water. So that works out real well. That comes out to about 1 gallon. Okay. And then one little bit. Then we're going to add some water. I just use purified drinking water. Our water is kind of hard. We do have a softener, but it's still kind of hard. Dogs are excited. I'm going to put some of the water in this to get all of the juice out of that jug. And just shake it up real good. About half of it. Don't want to waste any. We paid for it, so just give it a good shake. Some of the juices, especially the wine blends or the grape blends, get some goop on the bottom that you want to get off. The apple is not quite so bad. It dilutes pretty easy, but just want to get it all out of there. Add that to our apple juice. I'll blow some big bubbles here. Okay. And we add the rest of this. We're going to fill this to 1 gallon. These are 16.9 fluid ounces, so I need about 5.5 of them to bring us up to a gallon. You'll see there's lots of bubbles in there. That's oxygen. There's no alcohol present, so we want oxygen in our brew. So we might even shake it. We will shake it up to get all the juice and the water mixed real well. One, two, three, four. This is number 5. Yep, 1 gallon is about right there, right towards the middle of the shoulder there. So, oh, can't reach my 6th one. There we go. All right, one more, or half of one. Don't want to get too full because then it might bubble over during fermentation, but you don't want too much headspace because that allows more chance for oxygen to get in there. I usually bring it right about to the bottom of this handle on this particular one. It's a little more than 5.5. We're going to stop. I'm going to go just a touch more. Right to the bottom of the handle. There we go. That's pretty good. And then we need to add our yeast. Again, safe ALSO4. You could probably use just about any yeast. I thought about using just Fleischmann's active dry yeast, but I thought, no, I'm trying to make a quality apple cider here. So just going to guess on this, about half a packet. This one packet actually should make 5 gallons. Now, this is all in French. Oh, there's the English side. And it doesn't say 11.5 grams, but I know it makes about 5 gallons. One packet can make 5 gallons. We're just going to use half. Just going to pour it in there. A little more. Okay, and like I said, I've got plans for the rest of this. You know what? That's not quite half. Let's do just a little more. That'll do. Perfect. I'll fold that over and put it back in the fridge. You do put your yeast in the fridge, right? Lasts longer that way. All right. Then, like I said, we want to shake this up. I don't know if you can see this on camera, but it's darker down here at the bottom. That means that's where all our apple juice is, and this is more water. So we need to get that mixed up because we're going to take a reading. And we want it to be well mixed so that our reading is accurate. Because if you don't have it mixed up real well, you're going to probably be low on your specific gravity. Because the specific gravity of water is 1.0. I'm expecting 1.050 on this. Apple juice usually is about 1.050 if I remember right. I'll get that mixed real well. I probably should have mixed it before I put my yeast in there because we're going to get some. Well, there's not too many stuck up here on the neck. That's not a problem. Doesn't really matter. They will do their job. They will build a colony and chew up all of the sugars in here. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Not too many yeasties on the neck. All right, so next thing we're going to do is take a reading. Have our cylinder and our hydrometer and handy dandy turkey baster. And let's just, so some people say you should take the gravity reading before you put your yeast in there. If I was going to wait a week before I took specific gravity after I put my yeast in, yeah, that'd be a problem because it will already start producing alcohol and lowering that specific gravity. But it's just getting its feet wet in there. So they're just swimming around in the pool. They're not ready to start eating yet. So we got time. We can do it now. Will we lose some in our cylinder? Yeah, probably will. But, you know, it will still do the job. Okay. If this doesn't come up to the specific gravity I expected, well, then we'll add some sugar, but I don't think we're going to need to. Again, apple cider is a low alcohol, probably 5 to 7% ABV. So we don't need a real high specific gravity to start with. Yeah, this is going to be pretty high. I think I might. Well, let's see what it is. Get some of the bubbles. If you spin your hydrometer, knock some of the bubbles off of it so it's easier to read. Wow, that's pretty high. I may want to shake this up again. I may not have got it all mixed real well. Let's see here. That is 1.090. Let's see what that would come out to. Where did my handy dandy calculator go to? Here it is. 1.090. If we fermented that to, if that fermented to dry, 1.090 minus 1.0 equals 0.09 times 131.25, 11.81. That's wine. Yeah. Let's give this another good shake. That just seems incredibly high. And as I said, we sanitized this, so there's no risk of infection. So I can pour this back in here. What am I doing, Mike? Trying not to just put that aside. And of course, the towel that I lay all that on has been thoroughly washed in hot water in the washer, so no problem there. Let's give this another good shake. Boy, this imported apple juice might be sugary. Well, we might end up with apple wine. Like I said, I've never used this before, so let's give it a little more. We want to make sure we're, what's the word? Homogenized? I don't know if that's the right word. Homogeneous? I don't know. Let's see. Want to be careful when you pull your thumb off of the bung because it does like to spit. It's all right. Okay, let's try this again. Carefully put my hydrometer back in. We may have to add a little bit of water, which means we are going to be dangerously close to the top. Which means we'll probably have to put a blow-off tube on instead of an airlock. We'll talk about that if it comes to that. Okay, so that's come down some. Maybe it hasn't. 1.090. That's incredible. Let's add a little more water. When you get above 9% ABV. That's considered a wine. We're shooting for a cider here, usually around 5 to 7% ABV. Yep, we're definitely going to have a blow-off tube because this is going to put us right up in the neck. And it will volcano on us. That may not even be enough to really do what we want to do, but we'll see. Then we got to shake it up, baby, again. Always keep your thumb on the bung over the hole or you'll be wearing your cider. I've done it. Can't remember which video that was. If you watch my videos, you'll probably see it in one of those. Get it all mixed up real well here. All right. It will be oxygenated. I should have used a rag. I got it all over my hand. That's why we have a towel here. Okay, once more into the breach. Is that how that goes? I think that's a military reference or quote. All right, my hands are getting sticky. Let's hope we brought this down some. I really am surprised that we may have to split the batch. Or I could transfer it to a bigger fermenter and dilute it some more. We just have a lot more apple cider then. All right, what have we got now? Still pretty high. .082. Okay. 1.082 minus 1.0.082 times 131.25, 10.76. It's still pretty high. I think what we're going to do, I think we're going to transfer this to a bigger fermenter and add some water. Be right back. All right. This is a 2.5 gallon, I believe, fermenter. We've used it before. We got it from Amazon. That's where I get just about everything anymore. I hardly even go to the store. We don't have a wine shop or a brew shop in my town. We're kind of out in, I used to say out in the boonies, but I get everything off Amazon. I guess that's my point. All right, what we're going to do here is get this sanitized, and then we're going to transfer this to this, and then we'll add some water. Now that's going to throw our specific gravity off a little bit because it's based on 1 gallon. So what we'll do is we'll dilute it, put 1 gallon in here and measure the specific gravity because I don't want to do the math. I'm kind of lazy that way. Anyway, we'll get there. Let's get this transferred from here to here, add some water. All right, I've been thinking about it, and even though we're going to have more than 1 gallon of water, which will throw off our specific gravity slightly, I'm not going to worry about it. This is not science, not rocket science, and I don't really care if it's 5 or 7. I just don't want it to be 10 or 9. So we're just going to pour this right in there because, again, we want oxygen in our brew. And this will help mix it up some more. In fact, I'm going to add another bottle of water before I finish pouring that in. Pardon me for leaving. Before I finish pouring all of that in, and that will help mix it up. Oh, one of my hairs on there. That's too bad. Okay. Let's add, I'm going to go with half a bottle for now. See what that does. Probably overshoot and be too low then. But, yeah, that's not a hair. That's a watermark. Okay. Continue. As I said, that'll help mix that up. Give it a good swirl too. Hopefully I get most of the yeast. I'm sure I will get most of the yeast in there. Wow. This is not a 2.5 gallon fermenter. Maybe a 1.5. Okay, let's do that. There is some yeast in there, but it'll be fine. Okay. All right. Let's give it a swirl without getting it everywhere. We're going to have a lot of apple cider. That's going to be fun. All right. Then let's get our hydrometer back. Where'd I go? Oh, there it is right there in front of me. And our turkey baster. One 1.080. And let's pour it in. Give it a good swirl. Make sure you know what we're gonna do. Let's use this. Just give it a good stir. Those are some sweet apples, let me tell you. Use some air to mix this up. And let's add the rest of the water. Wowzers. Wowzers, wowzers. Give it a really good stir. I have a paddle to do this, but it's in the other room. This will work. Whatever this lands on, that's what we're going to do. We're going to leave it at that. We'll figure it out. All right, once more. I'm just playing now, making bubbles. .070. You think I could do that math in my head? 9.18%. Well, we're going to leave it. We're going to run with it. What else are you going to do? We will just tell our friends and family, beware. That is some stout apple cider. And let's put we got our apple juice, our water, our yeast. So this fermenter came with a plastic lid, a plastic snap-on lid, and then this heavier duty screw-on lid. But we're just gonna, I just drilled a hole in this plastic lid, and I noticed it starting to tear. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start with this lid, but I'm gonna drill a hole in this one and put that on. It will seal much better that way anyway. And we need some sanitization liquid in our airlock. You always want to use a sanitizing liquid or spirit like vodka or something, not just water, because fruit flies love this stuff and they will swim right through. Yeah, we're definitely going to have to drill a hole in this lid and replace that one, but that's okay. We'll do that, and We'll check back in. So what we do now is we just let it sit for about a week, 5 days. Usually ferments pretty quickly for me. It's about 72 degrees, between 70 and 72 degrees Fahrenheit in my house. So I usually keep it in a little bit warmer room. That tends to help with this. The Safe ALS 04 has a range 15 to 20 degrees Celsius. So that's right in range with what we're talking about here. So we're just going to let this set and we'll check back in. Well, for me, it'll be about 5 days. For you, just a few seconds. Stay tuned. So our apple cider has been fermenting for about 2 weeks, actually 16 days. Life just kind of got in the way. But we are ready to rack this off. Let's get started. Let's start with taking a gravity reading just to make sure we know where we are. We've got our hydrometer, turkey baster, all sanitized in the sand tub. Broke my hydrometer, my other one. Always have a spare. When you buy one, buy two because they are very fragile. That's the second one I've broken already, so luckily I had a spare. So let's get started with the gravity reading here. Okay, well now I'm in a pickle. Well, we're going to have to let this set anyway, so I may get this stirred up a little bit, but should have got a glass. Then I could have tasted it. Let's do that. Before I get that so stirred up, I grab a glass. There was hardly any left in there. Well, we'll take some of this. We'll get back to that. Let's see. We are, wow. Give it a spin. There's no bubbles in it. It's pretty well degassed. It was really bubbling. There's still some bubbles in there, but still degassing. Okay, we are sitting at, let's stop here. Well, we're still sitting at 1.000. So I checked it about a week ago and it was 1.004. So it is pretty well stopped. We're gonna stop it anyway. So we're ready to go. However, you're probably wondering why I have my fermentation bucket here. Because this is more than a gallon, and it's going to be more than a gallon if we back sweeten and dilute. So that's why we've got my 2-gallon fermentation bucket here. We're going to rack to that first. So what I'm going to do first is pour a little bit of a taste. Put you over there. Gotta have a taste. We're going to have several tastes, so I don't want too much. Smells like apple wine, which is, I guess, what it is at 9%. Oh, it's good though. It's very dry, but we're going to take care of that. I'm assuming it's 9% if my memory serves, but let me do the calculation here. 1.070 starting gravity minus 1.0 times 131.25 is 9.18%. So 9%. So yes, we're definitely going to want to dilute this. Some of it will come in the form of back sweetening. All right, I'm going to pour this in here because that's where it's all going anyway. Try not to make too many bubbles. Okay. Let's put that back in the sand tub. Put that in there. All right, so we need our auto siphon. And we need our tubing. you've seen me rack a dozen times. If not, I have a video called Bottling Day where we rack quite a bit. If you want to learn how to do that, check out that video. But I'm going to go ahead and get this racked to the 2-gallon bucket, and we'll be right back. Got that racked over, and we have just over a gallon. If I remember right, we added at least a bottle and a half, about 20 ounces of water. We're at about not even a gallon and a quarter, but I've got marks on the side of my bucket telling me how much we've got there. So, but we're going to add some things here. So I don't know if you can see that, but there is a lot of lees on the bottom. Really good Kreuzen line on the top. Kreuzen. It's named after somebody, I think. But so let's move that aside. First thing I want to do, first thing we have to do, we need to add some things to make sure it won't start up fermenting again, because we are going to back sweeten, and we don't want that to start fermenting again. We're going to do this 2 ways. We're going to end up probably with about a gallon and a half of hard cider. A gallon of it I'm going to carbonate in my 1-gallon growler keg, and then the rest of it we're going to bottle carbonate in our 16-ounce bottles. So it'd be nice to have 2 gallons, but that's okay. The first gallon we're going to back sweeten with apple juice, which of course is a fermentable sugar, so we need to stop the fermentation. The second, and I've never done this before, but we're gonna flavor it with caramel. Here in the Midwest, a lot of people say caramel. Everywhere else they say caramel, but we're doing caramel flavored syrup to kind of flavor it. So we'll do that after the back sweetening because we want it sweet, and I'm not sure how much sweetness this is going to add, but it does have sugar in it, so it is also fermentable. So what we need to do is add our potassium metabisulfate, or some people call it K-met, and that is a half a teaspoon. Let me check. This says, it's about 1/8 of a teaspoon of the K-met and a half a teaspoon per gallon of potassium sorbate. So 1/8 of a teaspoon. I happen to have one here. I sanitized these earlier so they had time to dry, because you don't want to put dry or wet utensils into a dry powder. So we're going to start with the K-met, 1/8 teaspoon, and you just sprinkle that in. And then half a teaspoon of the potassium sorbate. Half a teaspoon. You can also use Camden tablets. They're a little easier. Well, I don't know if they're easier. They come in tablets, and you got to crush them with a spoon, but it's the same thing. Then just need to stir that up a little bit. Just going to use this. Just want to get that all mixed in there and dissolved. Smells like apple. like I said, apple wine, you can smell the alcohol in there. We're going to thin it down. Don't worry. We're not going to be having apple bombs. So I'm shooting for about 6%, 5 or 6% alcohol by volume for the cider. So, okay, so what we're going to need to do, that needs to sit for 12 to 24 hours. So, you know what though? We're gonna thin this down just a little bit. I'm just gonna add some water, just to bring that ABV down a little bit. So let me go get some water and I'll be right back. Okay, we're gonna do this very slowly because I don't know exactly how much we need to add, but we're gonna start with half a bottle of purified drinking water, and then we'll take a reading and we'll just keep stepping it down until we get to where we want to be. All right, we can't really measure the ABV, or I can't, I don't know the math, if we dilute it, but there is an equation to calculate the new alcohol by volume. And it's basically your total alcohol, which we have basically 9% right now, 9.18, and you divide that by your new volume, which we're shooting for 1.5 gallons, which is 4 of these 16.9 fluid ounce bottles of purified drinking water. So what we'll have after that, if you run that calculation, we'll have about 6.2% alcohol, which is still a pretty strong cider, but that's more along the line what we're shooting for. So we're going to go ahead and add our 4 bottles of purified drinking water, and that'll bring our volume up to 1.5 gallons, as I said. So I'm trying not to splash too much. I don't want to introduce a lot of oxygen to this. It's really not the best way to do this, but we'll try and get it down the side there. Remember, oxygen and alcohol don't mix. They create, if we're not careful, vinegar, but still, that's a pretty high alcohol content, so I don't think we're at too great a risk of spoiling this cider. I'm going to be very careful not to create too many bubbles here. I'm pouring it against the side of the bucket, and that's just keeping those bubbles down to almost nothing, 1 or 2 bubbles here and there. Pouring very slowly. I think maybe we're going to just go with 3 bottles. We're almost at 1.5 gallons already, so you know, it doesn't really matter. I mean, if we have higher ABV, well, we just have to be a little more careful when we're drinking. So must have had a little more than I thought. I had about 1 1/8 of a gallon, a little less than 1 1/4. I estimated 1 1/8. It must have been a little more than that, but it's okay. 1.5 gallons is what we're shooting for here as our final volume. We are right there. So just give that another stir. Remember, we added the potassium metabisulfate and the potassium sorbate. All right, so that, if calculations are correct, should bring our ABV down to 0.62 or 6.2%. Just take a little taste after it's been diluted. I need a little more than that. Still smells like apple cider. Okay, yeah, that's better. Take some of that alcohol bite off of there. It's still there. Again, as I said, it's flat, and we're going to back sweeten. But we're going to put a lid on this and an airlock just to make sure we don't get anything bad in there. I wouldn't even need the airlock, but my lid has a hole in it for the airlock, so we'll stick one in there. We're going to let it sit. We'll be back tomorrow to finish this up. So stay tuned. All right, it's been 24 hours and we've allowed our potassium sorbate and K-met to work and make sure all the fermentation is stopped. So now we are free to back sweeten. Again, we have 1.5 gallons. We're going to start by back sweetening with apple juice, of course, apple cider. And this is add some, take a taste test, add more. It's just a trial and error process. So we're just going to start with, I'm just going to guess it's purely by what I like. So we're not going to measure. We're not going to calculate. We're just going to try it and, see where it goes. I am going to pour it into this glass though first. So that's a little easier to avoid so many bubbles. And that's, what is that, about 8 ounces maybe? We'll start there. Give it a stir with my ridiculously long paddle. And let's just get a good sized taster here. It's a little better. I'd say it needs just a little bit more. Maybe we'll go with half a glass this time. Shouldn't be using the same glass. We're just going to eyeball it here. I'm going to slowly, gently pour in what I think is about 4 or 5 ounces. Give it a stir. There are several different companies that make different kinds of hard cider here in the States. There's one particular brand that my wife really likes when we go to Old Chicago. So it's a beer and pizza place in the States here. I don't know, do they have Old Chicago's in the European countries and other countries? Let me know down in the comments if you do. That's pretty good. I think we're gonna leave it there. Yeah, I like that. That's good. Okay, perfect. We're gonna use the auto siphon to get this into our keg. Yep, that'll work. All right, so we're gonna put this in the keg. It is a 1 gallon growler keg, as I said. And we just start the siphon like we do. Don't need the bottling wand because I'm just gonna eyeball it here and watch it. And when it gets up to the fill line, we're gonna just pull the siphon out. So just need to keep an eye on it. Need a light. There we go. I've used this keg once. I made a Hefeweizen style beer. It was delicious. It worked really well. Just you put a CO2 cartridge on the regulator here and drop that in and screw it tight and let it sit, and it carbonates. So I can't wait for this. It's going to be good. All right, so I'll be back when this is full. You don't need to watch all of this. Got the growler keg filled up to the gallon mark. So then we just need to drop this in. This has been sanitize this as best as I could. You can't sanitize the regulator valve, but yeah, do the best you can, right? Okay, got that in there. That hose just drops down to the bottom, and tighten this down good and tight so it doesn't leak. All right, then once you got that closed up, make sure your regulator valve is all the way closed. You got increase to the right and decrease to the left, so we got it all the way closed. And then we take your, I think it's a 16 gram CO2 threaded cartridge. You just slip that right on there, thread it on, and you'll hear it. You probably can't hear it. I didn't barely hear it, but get it threaded on there tight. And then you open your valve, and I open it all the way up to just to the red line, which is 23 pounds, something like that. Right at the red line, and then you let it sit. I'm going to put it in the refrigerator. They say that it will carbonate a little quicker in the refrigerator. And we'll just keep checking on the regulator periodically, make sure that it holds that pressure. Might need to increase it a little bit as it goes, but we'll be back with that one. All right, so then what we have left, a little more than half a gallon. We're going to add some caramel flavoring to that. Okay, that's good enough. And again, this is a trial and error process. I have no idea how much it's going to take. I don't want it to be overly caramel, but some people even add salt to make like salted caramel. We might try that. All right. Oh, smells like caramel, just like it should. All right, let's just try and pour this gently again. Just kind of guessing here. Don't want to go too far. Let's give that a try. Find my turkey baster again. All right, well, we need to stir that a little bit. I can smell the caramel. It's very faint. The caramel. You probably will need to add some more, but I almost want to have it just a hint. I want people to say, is that caramel? I'll say, no, it's caramel. Oh yeah, I think we might have nailed that. All right, I think maybe just a skosh more. Give that a stir. I know what you're thinking. I just want another taste. You're right. Okay. I wish I had another keg. That works so much easier than bottle kegging or bottle carbonating. Not that it's hard. You'll see in a moment here. Just a little taster. All right, there it is. That's perfect. Don't want any more. Okay, so now we need to get set up for bottling. And it's probably going to take, I think what I'll do is rack this to a pitcher. Then we'll know exactly how much it's going to take, because my pitcher is graduated, and so we'll know how much is in there. Don't need to guess on everything. So just drop that down in there. Again, there's a little bit of sanitization fluid in there. It's not going to hurt it. It's not going to dilute it all that much. Let's just get this racked into a pitcher, and we'll see how much we've got here. I'm going to go ahead and rack this, and I'll get some bottles, and we'll be back shortly. Okay, so how many of you caught my mistake? Let me know down in the comments section if you know. So what I should have done before I added the potassium sorbate and the potassium metabisulfate, should have split the batch. I can't carbonate this now because I have that in there. I treated the whole batch. I can't carbonate it naturally. So what I'm going to do, I do have another growler keg on the way. I'm going to put this back in a fermenter, put an airlock on it. Probably don't need an airlock. Actually, I'll probably just seal it up in a 1 gallon glass jar, and wait for that other keg to arrive, and we'll carbonate it that way. Shoot. Well, you know what? I make these mistakes so you don't have to. It's a learning channel. We just learn as we go. So it tastes good though. I could bottle it and drink it flat like this. Not flat, still. But I like it carbonated, especially with that caramel flavoring in there. So we're just going to seal it up, wait for that second keg to arrive. The wonder of online purchasing and shipping now. I'll have that in probably by tomorrow. So we'll just wait and use the keg to carbonate this. All right, we'll be right back. All right, it's been several days I think since we kegged our hard apple cider, and I did kind of the speed carbonate. You can put this on its side and roll it for about 20 minutes, pressurized, and then stick it in the refrigerator. And like I said, usually you can tap it then in a day or so. Like I said, it's been 4 days, so we're going to give this a try here. It's really cold. That should be good. Our pressure's holding. It's dropped a couple degrees. We're going to drop that pressure down to pouring pressure, which is about 8 pounds. You don't want it over pressurized, or you're just going to get a lot of gas and foam out of it. All right, we're about 8 pounds there. I don't know if I mentioned it. This is the TM Craft 1 gallon growler keg. Got it on Amazon. They're not a sponsor, unless they want to be. But I've used this a couple times, or at least once before. It works really well. So let's give it a try here. All right. Yep. It's got good carbonation. Smells like a hard cider. So it's got a little bit of a drip. That's okay. Smells really good. Let's give it a taste. Oh, that's good. Nice and smooth. Good carbonation. A little cloudy, but then I think that's kind of an apple cider thing. Not too strong. You know, we diluted it down, take some of the alcohol bite out of it. It's a nice, smooth drinker. Got ball game on today. Might have to sip on that while we're watching the game. You might have noticed I'm wearing the same shirt I was in the last segment. I promise it is clean, but it is my favorite Thanksgiving shirt. I don't know if you can see it all here. Kind of represents how I feel about the holidays. I love Halloween. I love Thanksgiving. I love Christmas, but I like them in their order. I feel a little bit like sometimes we get ahead of ourselves, starting up Christmas decorations and shopping and all of that right after Oktoberfest. We kind of sometimes, I feel like we gloss over Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's important. It is an American holiday, but I think the sentiment is universal and international. Taking time to give thanks for the things that we have, the blessings we have, our family and friends and health. And we really need to take time and think about that. And put Christmas on hold. It'll come. Santa will be here. But I think it's a good time to just stop and appreciate what we have, regardless of where you are. It's important to remember our blessings and what we have. There's plenty of other things going on in the world. So that's my challenge, just to be thankful for what you've got. And that about does it for our apple cider. Remember, we do have the other apple, the other half of this batch that we made caramel apple. I kind of messed up and treated it so it wouldn't ferment, so we weren't able to bottle carb it. Do have another keg on the way, so we'll get that in the keg as soon as it gets here. It didn't come like I thought it would, holiday rush, but I'll do a little short video, see how that one turned out, and watch for that. So, as always, thanks for tuning in, smoking and drinking, and I want to wish you a very happy Thanksgiving, and appreciate all of you. I'm thankful for having all my loyal subscribers, and remember to click that like and subscribe button. And as always, Prost.